we're recording from now. Just so you know.
Okay.
I've been busy over the last few days. Just every day I'm trying to record at least 1 or 2 chapters. And because I'm rereading all of the information, it's just going in deeper and deeper every time into my soul. You know, it's like an onion. There's just so many layers to it. And when depending on when you're reading it and the state of your mind and where you're at in your life, when you read the information, it hits you at a totally different place. I don't know if you're experiencing it, being the person to have, automatically writ it.
So I'm listening now to the audiobook that I voiced, and now I've managed to get over hearing my own voice and actually hearing the information. There are parts of it that I'm feeling like I'm listening to for the first time.
Yeah.
So it's like hitting me it's hitting me at different points, and I'm having these like aha moments of, oh my gosh. And I've been going myself through a bit of a healing crisis over the past couple of weeks, and it's relating to me more since going through that and having to really dig deep into some of my own healing.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm with you.
It's like the book truly is called to you at the right moment. Like right now, my soul, to be honest, and we met just before I moved to Portugal, and I think the cherry on the cake and the thing that gave me all the confidence was the wisdom in that book, to realize that if I can just surrender to the lesser self, the ego in the mind, and just trust the soul, which is always in control, I will be led to the most incredible things and the most incredible synchronizations and the best thing for the evolution of my soul and my bloodline and my family. And it's been tough. I've been here a month and a half and there's been some tough days, but all of it is allowing the shadow to rise within myself so I can alchemize it in peace and stillness. And the book every single day is just like, I hate saying it's almost like my personal Bible for this time in my life, it's miraculous. And like I said, now I'm reading it again out loud, as you would have done doing the audiobook. It just hits you in so many ways. And it truly feels like the entire cosmos is speaking directly to me. I forget that there's thousands of other people reading this. It's like it was written for me at this moment, completely for my life.
Yeah, because it was. Right? Because that's what they say. For those that it's been written for, it will speak directly to you.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. So I thought, I don't want this to be too much of a long call. I thought, if it's okay, you could kind of just introduce yourself, but by reading the actual introduction that you've wrote, and then maybe we can just talk a little bit after that. And I think that would just be a beautiful way to start this series.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So before you start, what I'll just read the very first page, which is part 1, a transmission of unconditional love. Unconditional love as an activating energy, the energy that transmutes fear, a tough wake-up call, a soothing balm to your soul. The secret of change is to focus on all your energy, not on fighting the old, but on building the new. And that's Socrates. So I'll leave it to you now, Helen, from page 3. Anyone who's got the book in their hands, take it away.
Okay. So, introduction, how this book came to be. Unstable times call for unconventional solutions, and The Coming Times is definitely an unusual book in terms of its content and how it was conceived. I am only the scribe of the book, which was written through automatic writing from a collaboration of enlightened beings, the Divine Council. I describe automatic writing as writing without any conscious thought about what I'm writing about. As I write, I don't think. I can't. I get tingling in my hands, and it's as if my hand is taken over and is being used to write. A bit like how a trance channel's body gets taken over, my hand does as I allow the words to flow. I know it sounds pretty out there to say that I don't know what I'm writing about, but it isn't anything new and is something that others have done throughout the centuries. Some more modern day automatic writers include Patience Worth, Geraldine Cummings, Jane Roberts, Helen Schumann, Neil Donald Walsh, and Esther Hicks. How automatic writing happened for me was in a very unassuming way. There was no dramatic incident, yet it was life-changing. I was going through a challenging time and seeing a counsellor who introduced me to inner child healing. He told me to try an exercise where I asked my inner child a question with my right hand and answered with my left. It seemed a bit weird, but I tried it anyway. I couldn't really understand what I'd written, so I decided to see if it worked using my right hand only. I was surprised to find that it did work. But what I wrote wasn't from my inner child. On the paper in front of me was wise guidance telling me how to heal myself. As I read it back, I couldn't believe what I'd written and was confused as to where it was coming from. To my surprise, I received an answer. This is White Bear, one of your guides. We had an earth life together as Hopis. I was an elder and leader of the Bear clan, and you studied intensely with me. I have much to teach you and remind you of. And that was my introduction into automatic writing and past lives, or parallel lives as they're believed to be. I started to research about the Hopis, and to my amazement, I found actual mentions of White Bear. In meditation, I would often meet with him, and our interactions always felt so real, even though once I was back in reality, they felt like a distant dream. Yet our connection through automatic writing continued almost every day. Around this time, I came across a series of books called Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. My intuition told me they were really important books, but what I didn't anticipate is how they would talk directly to me and help me to trust more in my own ability to connect with the guidance coming through my hands. To some, I know this would sound crazy, but it was very real to me. If we understand that we're actually spiritual beings having a human experience, then it isn't as out there as it might sound. A few years later, White Bear said he was stepping aside to let my next guide introduce himself to me. I don't think there's really such a thing as our guides going away, but sometimes one of them takes on a more prominent role and the others are more in the background. And that's when I was introduced to Saint Germain. After some research, I discovered that Saint Germain was guiding many others too, with similar teachings and wisdom, and that helped me to trust the information that he was telling me. In time, he became known as SG to me, and after another few years, he introduced me to the ECC. He explained that it was one of the groups that he worked with and that they were a collaboration of enlightened beings. From there, I was in training for a long time, writing their teachings and messages down and trying to understand them. And that's when a breakthrough came in my understanding. If I really wanted to help bring change to the corrupt world we live in, I was being asked to do something that felt counterintuitive. I was being encouraged to focus on myself and what was going on inside of me. I had to face what I hadn't healed from my past and be open to letting go of all the patterns and programs that were affecting my vibration. It was only on completing this book that I was told that the guidance is coming from the Divine Council. The Divine Council is a collective of ascended masters, and I'm told their particular responsibility is to oversee the divine plan. It seems there's many different councils in the higher realms, all keeping a close eye on Earth. It's such big stuff for my little head that my little head finds hard to grasp. There's a depth to the coming times that I don't think I'll ever fully understand. However, I know how much I've changed as a result of reading it, and I now realise its transformative power. And that's the bit that excites me and how I hope it will help you too. I now understand the power of our consciousness to affect change based on my own personal experience. The more I got out of my own way, the more I started to notice the patterns and programming start to dissipate from within me, and the more peace and joy I started to feel. It's a process we cannot understand with our minds, but bit by bit, we start to feel differently within ourselves. I now appreciate that what I thought was an encouragement of apathy within this book absolutely isn't. It's a call to inner action to affect outer change. It's profound, controversial, thought-provoking, triggering, and inspiring all at the same time. I want you to know that this book has called you, that you are not here reading these words or listening to these words by accident. It's for you, the wise ones, the warriors of the rainbow, who have felt the deep calling to inner peace and joy from within you. Please also accept the repetition of ideas that are presented throughout the book. When I question the repetitiveness with the Divine Council, they told me that this is deliberate, that the more we hear about something, the more it becomes real to us. I have been told that this book is energetically armed to help us rise above all our subconscious fear and to align with love. To remember that God, source, and our soul is love. But we must choose consciously to lessen fear's control over us. We are responsible for taking back control of our minds and embodying the light that we are. One of the book's primary purposes is to help to assist us in returning to our true state of being, our soul, to help us allow and open to the process of surrender and experience the high vibrations of light, love, joy, and peace that we came here to experience and be the example of, to remembering our natural state of living in the flow. Most of us have forgotten that our natural state is in the surrendered state of being in the flow. It's how nature operates, and we are part of nature too. May this book act as a catalyst for your transcendence from awakening and into enlightenment, and to experiencing what joy and inner peace feel like. So much love to you. And as the Divine Council say, peace is in you.
Wow. I cannot wait for this audiobook to drop. That was read so beautifully. Goosebumps, honestly. Your voice, I bet you never thought your voice would be an audiobook one day, you know? When you're called to mission, it's just crazy what starts to open up for you, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. In ways that we just don't understand it. Our mind can't understand it, can it?
No. And you mentioned in that introduction, Neil Donald Walsh, Conversations with God. And when I first met you, I told you that was the very first book I read that started to open up my mind. And I was between 11 and 15. I can't remember, but I was a very young teenager, boy, really. And I'd read it. And my mother, she had the main book, and then my uncle had bought me the teenage version. But I was adamant that I wanted to just read the adult version. And I went through years of feeling quite triggered because the information was so profound and it cut straight to the soul of things. But I felt, who is this person who's claiming they've had a direct conversation with God? Like the audacity to say that you alone has had a conversation with God. Mm-hmm. But I realized at that time, you know, young teenager, my concept of God was still coming from the kind of Age of Pisces ideology of God, you know, like this all-seeing man, judgmental thing. But the more I understood what God really meant, and God is just another word for so many different things. As a Buddhist, for me, it's the mystic law. I understood that Neil Donald Walsh was talking just about that omnipresent energy, the ether, you know, it's just that word. And it's interesting how words can be triggering for people. Yes. And I see how you intertwine different words throughout the book to keep it as open as possible, whether it's source, the universe, and God. And that's going to help so many people to move past that first knee-jerk reaction when something doesn't align with them, because like you said, it's going to be triggering for some people. And it was for me when I first read Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh, because it was triggering because the information was so poignant and important to me, but it was just I couldn't get past the fact that it was coming from something that I didn't understand, you know. Yeah. And I think that's what opened me up, and that's why I came to read yours with such an open heart, ready, because at this point at 31, I've read so many books by people that have done automatic writing that I mean, if you're not conscious of what you're saying, but this is the kind of stuff that's coming out, it's got to come from something that's benevolent and that loves us and wants us to evolve and change, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I feel genuinely does want the best for us. Genuinely does.
Yeah.
Genuinely does. And I think it's interesting what you were saying about Conversations with God, because I think one of the things that hit me the hardest as well was that encouragement of self-responsibility. And it's big when we have to like face ourselves and feel, oh my gosh, I am totally responsible for like my own inner world. And I think that's been a big part of my journey is self-responsibility, right? Yeah.
And that's a big part of the disclosure and the transformation that we're going through now. You know, the Age of Pisces, a lot of the old Abrahamic religions make us go outward you know, and allow us to rely on these external deities to be our saviors. But as one of the chapters here are, you know, there are no saviors, you are your own savior. And it's one of the most enlightening and unshackled feelings ever, but also the weight of the world, in a sense, comes on your shoulders, because if not you, then no one's going to change anything for your personal inner world, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
So thank you so much for just reading that. I just hope so many people find value in the words from your audiobook, from what we're doing here with this visual audiobook I'm doing, from and just purchasing the book. I think most important as well, everyone who's listening to this, as much as audiobooks and stuff are amazing, try and just get your hands on an actual copy, to just have them words there forever in print. You know, it's just so important, because if, you know, internet goes, you're never going to be able to find the readings again. But to have that there, this, like, when things really do get hard to navigate in the coming times, and I drop in frequency, I drop into fear, which is fine. Fear is necessary. This will bring me out of it quickly when I remember the sovereignty, when I remember that all of this is in the divine plan. And Helen and the divine council, you're the first person that has made me really trust the plan, because there's a lot of different sayings out there and people right now that are trying to just say, just trust the plan, but they're doing it in this wishy-washy new age spiritual way where it doesn't actually call for action. It's just a passive stance. But what you've done here is infused absolute faith in the plan, because the plan is me recognizing who I am and then creating the action to build the new earth, the foundations. It's not passive in the slightest. And you're the first person who's made it not seem new age to me, this concept of trusting the plan.
Yeah, I hear you. I so hear you. I so hear you, because it's us remembering that it's the cheesy phrase that we are the ones we've been waiting for. That we're here for this time, as much as it's like, holy cow. Did I sign up for this? We did. We did, right? And it's just remembering, outside of any ego, that we're here for a reason, and we've got to step into that. And we can't step into that properly from our mind, because our mind is still being so programmed from everything outside of us. It has to come from within us, and from us strengthening our connection, our individual connection to the whole, to source, to whatever we want to call it, right? That's where our power comes from.
Yeah, it's so true. And this is why the Matrix is consistently trying to pull us out of ourselves, because they can't control the inner world. You know, they can only control our inner world through all the stuff externally. But when we come back into source and stillness, and there's a whole chapter about when you give your soul space, and you give your soul as much space as you give your mind that occupies most of your thoughts, that's when you start to feel, you know, God, source, the ether, the energies, your higher being starts to come out, you know, and you really start to trust the flow, and you start to surrender. You know, I often say, as a Buddhist, every day I chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo for an hour in the morning. And in the afternoon, if my car breaks down and I'm on a valley in Portugal by myself, yes, at first it can be annoying, but I have to trust and just breathe and recognize everything is happening as it's supposed to. Otherwise, why bother praying in the morning if I'm going to slander something in the afternoon because my mind thinks that it's not the best thing for me? You know, that's where I'm getting at now, where it's totally trusting in everything that's happening in my life at this point.
Yes, exactly that. And how I look at it in those kind of situations as well is, wow, so there's still stuff within me that almost like that needed to happen for me to heal something that I'm feeling, because what we feel we heal, right? So it doesn't happen through us feeling everything going perfectly all the time. It happens in those moments. I've really felt it in the past couple of weeks. Like I thought I was surrendering. I have been brought. And then it's really humbling. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
And now a new level comes, right?
Yeah. It's like this. I think it says in the Bible, you can't pour wine into old wineskins. Something, you know, like we have to kind of like allow it to all come to the surface and alchemize. And to be honest, everything painful, triggering, hurtful, the people that have hurt me the most in my life have all been the catalyst for my greatest change, or for me remembering who I truly am, you know? So it's all divine. And that's kind of what I'm learning from these words now, you know?
Yes. And so if we are experiencing that in our personal lives, it's got to happen on the world stage too, right? It's got to happen at where the microcosm of macrocosm. So it's these big events have just got to take place to bring people again, back to themselves. It's, for some reason, it's the only way. I don't understand that. I can't say I understand it.
Yeah. Well, I understand it just from the concept of literally, if there was dirt at the bottom of a cup and the new age represents water, you know, going into that cup, the dirt and sediment is just going to become cloudy at first until eventually it runs clear. And so it's natural laws. It has to happen, you know. And you really understand this when you read this book, you know, that everything is, even, and there's a part that says even the people that think they're in control of the world, you know, the cabal, the deep state, whatever it is, even them who think they're in control, actually everything they're doing is the catalyst for the awakening and involvement of the planet. And that is a really high vibration. You have to really work on yourself to be able to hold that truth and know it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't mean that we condemn it. It doesn't mean that we allow these atrocities to happen. But from the highest perspective, it gives us a stillness that we need. Otherwise, we're always coming from duality and reacting in anger, when actually we can love the eternal Buddhahood that that person has, even if they're not displaying it right now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Helen, I love you. Thank you so much. I'm pretty sure it must be very cold in the United Kingdom. I'm still only in a jumper, so it's not too bad in Portugal right now.
Oh, it is windy. It is rainy. It is cold.
Oh, I have a little log fire next to my caravan, and it's a bit icy around 3-4 in the morning. But other than that, I was chopping wood in a string vest earlier, so I'm in a different realm, literally. And it's because I have followed the calling of my soul, transcended anything that I didn't need anymore, had the courage to say goodbye to people that I knew I'd find again in the future, but walked on my path. And yeah, I mean, it has its challenges, but I know for sure that I'm exactly where my soul needs to be right now. And it's a beautiful feeling to know, do you know what, I'm exactly where I need to be, you know, because how many people aren't? They're in a relationship at home and they don't feel fulfilled, or they're not telling the closest people around them what's actually going on in their heart. To know that I'm standing here free and sovereign and doing exactly what my soul wants is, but I guess, to be honest, it's no doubt took lifetimes to get to this level of freedom. Have a beautiful Sunday. Are you having a Sunday roast?
I've already had one. Had one earlier. It was delicious. It took the edge off the weather.
Well, oh man, I can't wait for my next English Sunday roast. It's coming up, man. I live on a vegetarian land, so there's no meat, so I'm okay with it. But bring on like that chicken, you know.
Yeah. It was delicious.
I love you so much. We'll speak soon.
Okay.
I love you. Bye bye.
Bye.